Okay, good morning. It's Monday. And that must mean it's Sean.
Good morning, commissioners. Today for VMRs, we have a few different departments. We have Superior Court, Drug Court, and Juvenile. So we'll start it off with Superior Court here. Alrighty, and I believe Danielle's online. If there's any additional questions we can't answer. So starting off in the general fund for revenues in Superior Court, we have intergovernmental revenue, 58,108. This includes Uniform Guardianship Act, interpreter reimbursement, things of that nature. Goods and services were 14,000 of 22,500. More filing fees, court service fees, things of that. And then we have miscellaneous at 7,700 of 20,500. On the expense side, we have personnel of 628,000 of 1.5 million. Supplies, 2,000 of 18,000. And then services of 274,000 of 752,000. Inside those services are going to be professional contracts, jury fees, court-appointed attorneys, and our internal services as well.
This might be a question for Danielle, but I know she has an open position. If I recollect, Danielle, you're not planning on filling that position, correct? You're planning on leaving it open?
Yeah, we do have an open position and we're not planning to fill it at this point.
Okay.
The next fund is Fund 12201. This is the Law Library. So revenues on this one, we have 19,800 of 40,400. And these are going to be filing fees associated with that. On the expense side, we have personnel at 1,700 of 4,800. Supplies of 11,000 of 42,000. And a small amount of services with a budget of $4,500 on that. The services are currently are internal service fees. The current cash balance of this fund is $229,000.
Is this a library that we keep so that they have reference to precedents on, the judges have reference precedents on other cases? Or what is this for?
Yeah, I would probably defer to Danielle on that. I have a little bit of knowledge, but she probably has much more.
Yeah, this is, we're required to, by RCW, to have a law library that provides resources to the public, also like the attorneys, judicial staff can also use it, but mostly it is available for the public, the general public.
What do they use it for?
There's different resources on there like LexisNexis to do different kind of research for their case law, anything that they might need to help them represent themselves in court.
Oh, that's what.
How do they access it?
We have a kiosk in a room here on the second floor, and they will come get a key card from our office, check it out, and then they're free to be in there and use it however they need. It's locked down. It's a computer that's in a kiosk locked down to just the certain subscriptions that we have on there for them.
Okay.
We also provide, I think there's an iPad that is in use over at the jail as well with programs.
So is that, there's just the two access points for it then?
I believe so, yeah. I think just the two.
Okay.
And is that information that's in there, is it any different than what I can go pull up on YouTube?
Yes, it's actual subscription to like LexisNexis. We are looking at currently seeing about getting a Westlaw subscription with the AI feature on there that could potentially be really helpful for those litigants that are representing themselves.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions on Superior Courts Group? We will now move on to Drug Court. So year to date for drug court. Intergovernmental, we're at 18,800 of 60,000. Goods and services, 7,800 of 15,000. A little miscellaneous in there, and other financing sources, we're currently at 9,400 of 155. This was a recent amendment. And then we'll notice a fair discrepancy on personnel from prior year to current year. Personnel currently is 83,000 of 203,600. Supplies, we're at just shy of 1,000 of 26,000. And services, we're at 67,000 of 95. If you recall, many FTEs were moved over to the opioid funds for 2026, and that was about $371,000 difference on personnel there. Any questions on drug court?
Is Dallas on, is he online or is it Danielle?
I'm not sure if Dallas is online.
He's here with me if you wanted to ask him a question.
Okay. Dallas, I did have a couple questions. I know that we had talked and you were working on finding alternative sources of revenue specifically for your FTEs. How's that going?
Well, just working with Gina right now on the homeless grant funding, seeing what I'll be able to do with that. Been talking with Danielle, and realistically at that, the other revenues, I'm kind of stalled out. Some of the CJTA money, when it came to using some of the CJTA money to get reimbursements, after talking to the judges, it was kind of put on hold for right now.
Is that because of we didn't meet the qualifications to use it?
There was just some questions on how to do it with it being like the ethics involved with it being Superior Court and kind of how we are doing things where it's Superior Court putting them into this program and then billing for services.
Got it.
But I'm still looking and I'm trying to turn over every leaf possible.
Thanks.
Mhm.
So our next department is juvenile probation. Our intergovernmental revenues are 123,000 of 463. The majority of these are going to be the DSHS Consolidated Juvenile Grant and the CASA GAL grant. And then miscellaneous of 22,000 of 71,500. Currently, that's mainly the BECA impact grant at $21,000. Expenses for personnel, we're at 557,000 of 1.42 million. Supplies, 2,700 of 13,000. In services, we're at 233,000 of 496,000. Most of these services are going to be utilities, guardian ad items, professional and contract services, as well as our internal service billings. And then on the juvenile detention side, we have no revenue for intergovernmental to date. In our goods and services, we're at 6,400 of 55,000. Most of those are going to be charges for detention, which we should not see a significant drop off on in the future. And on the expense side for detention, we have personnel at a little over $1 million of a $2.57 million budget. Supplies, we're at 9,000 of 37,000. In services, we're at 348,000 of 601. And those are all of our BMRs for today. Do you have any additional questions on this?
What internal service billings do we have at juvenile?
For those ones, we have our IT
Oh,
and
yeah,
our risk items as well.
those two.
For almost every department, we'll have IT and risk of some
But
sort.
there's nothing outside of that for them.
Not that I recall, no. Oh, I do take that back. They do have a small amount of motor pool vehicles. And then rolling off of the BMRs, if you indulge me, I have a little short presentation on general fund revenues. Kind of going over the top 10. So these are going to be specifically for the general fund. So as you know, every year during the budget cycle, we do our levies as well. So our number one revenue for the general fund is property taxes. And in 2026, we levied 20,882,000. We expect to collect a little bit less than that, about 99%. It is a reduction from prior year. We did have a large settlement coming through that we had to put back on the rolls, if you recall. But we want to talk about what property taxes look like depending on the area you're in for the general fund. And so we're looking at an average house value in Cowlitz County, about $417,000. And what we really want to put forward on this is no matter what area you live in, you're paying the same value in taxes to the county. So for $417,000 home this year, that home pays about $411 to the county general fund. No matter if you're in Willamette, whether your taxes are $3,700, or if you're in Kelso where it's $5,200, it's just going to depend on what other items are there. The majority of these are going to be state and school taxes.
What's striking to me about that is if you look at the total tax that the homeowner is paying, like for example, in Woodland, they're paying $4,200, we get 411 of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important to point out because a lot of people think that the county collects a lot of that property tax and we're getting not a lot out of $4,200.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now we do, if you're in the county, we do have an additional levy. That's going to be the county road fund, but that's outside of the general fund itself. But I thought it was important to mention.
Well, and part of that is any increase or decrease in property taxes on our part only affects that $411.
$11,
Doesn't
exactly,
affect
yeah.
the rest of it.
Right.
Yeah, so our 1% increase on the total levy is fairly small per home per year. So if we look down the next line down, our local retail sales and use tax is our second largest. We budgeted 11.5 million this year. Last year, we also budgeted 11.5. In 25, we did collect 11.7 million. And we're keeping a close eye on that for this year. So how's our sales tax breakdown? So we have a sales tax rate of 7.7% currently. 6.5 of that is a pass through to the state. We have the optional first and second half. This is assessed by every county in the state. And that's where our 11.5 and 11.9 in 2025 came from. Then we have the criminal justice tax, which is a special revenue. We collected approximately 1.67 in 2025. This is a split between the cities and ourselves. The effective rate we get is 1/2 of 1/10. And then the last one is E911, that's 1/10. And that is a pass through to Cowlitz 911 currently. And that was about 3.32 million in 2025. So next one on the list is rents and leases. The majority of this is going to be our landfill lease payment annually. We do also categorize our facilities lease payments into this category. But 7.5 million of that is the landfill. Transfers in. The majority of these monies are going to be the remaining mental health tax transfer in, with some other small transfers throughout. The PAs transfers from their O&M, a small value. Interest earnings. This is money that we earn on cash held. In 2025, we budgeted 2.15 and collected 2.61. For 2026, we currently have a budget of 2 million. We anticipate to exceed that. We have been working with the departments on cash balances and how that works. We've been having success on uninvesting those for the general fund benefit. Next up is charges for detention. Pretty straightforward on that one. Fees from the cities and state for use of our jail and offender services.
Have we renegotiated all of our contracts with them? And we're now up to where we need to be?
We are on, I believe, year 2 of that contract, and we'll continue to negotiate those for the best possible. Next on our list is PUD privilege tax. This was the one I was a little bit unfamiliar with and kind of wanted to discuss this one in more detail. So the state imposes a 2% excise tax on the gross revenues of sale of power. Of that 2%, the state retains 41.6, and that goes towards schools. The remainder of that goes back to the counties where the gross sales were made. From there, we distribute the money we receive to the city's 0.75% of the PD's gross revenues in the area. And so in 2026, the county received 3.162 million. And of that, the county retained 2.3. So about 800,000 was distributed to the cities.
Are these numbers like in RCW, or is this a number that we negotiated with cities?
This
You
is,
know,
our distribution is the minimum.
okay. We're given a range by RCW.
Mhm.
All right.
So next up, oh, yeah.
Real quick, to Chairman's question. It says that it's the PUD gross revenues in the area. So do we give them 0.75% of the gross revenue for each jurisdiction or as a whole and then divide it up?
By each jurisdiction. So the PUD provides that information, and that calculation is done by the treasurer's office to make sure that distribution is accurate. And then our next line is going to be other interest. This year, it's not in the top 10, but last year it was, so we wanted to include it. These are interests on property taxes. So last year we had a large settlement of interest on a prior payment. This year we do see it being a lower value. We have collected 310, 587 budgeted for this year. You know, our goal is for us to be 0 because we would like our property tax paid timely, but some of them do hang out there. Next on the line is criminal justice. This is a pass through from the state to the sheriffs. The other one that's worth some discussion is timber excise tax. And so it's actually a little convoluted sometimes. So I figured go into this one a little more detail. So as you know, timber properties on property taxes have a significantly reduced valuation on those. And so when the timber's harvested, there's a 5% excise tax on that timber. 4% of that stays with the county, 1% goes to the state. Once that money is received, it's distributed to our local taxing districts based upon the district's levy rates and the tab value, the timber assessed value in that area. And then there's priorities as well. So the county's priority 3. Priority 1 is going to be taxing districts with geo debt and school districts with excess levies for capital projects. And then priority 2 is school districts again. This is going to be based on their levy for the year. Priority 3 will be any other district with a tax levy of some variety. So, and then from there, annually a reserve of 20% is held for the following year. And then all excess funds that are received in excess of priority 1 and 2 and the reserve are then redistributed to priority 3. So timber excise tax can be a little bit volatile. If it's a low year, we may not receive any money. Priority 1 and 2 will be fully funded before priority 3 is fully funded. If there's a lot of excise tax for the cuttings this year, priority 1 and 2s do not change. And then priority 3 would receive a larger value depending on their levies for the year.
Sean, do you know what percentage of our taxable properties in our county are that under that category?
That's a good question. I'm not sure on that. Let me take a peek here. I can tell you the full timber assessed value in the county is just shy of $1 billion.
$1 million?
$1 billion.
Oh, $1 billion. I was gonna say $1 million. What?
It's
That doesn't make-
$956 million is our timber assessed value for the county.
Does this primarily come from private enterprise, like your Sierra Pacifics, your Weyerhaeusers? How about DNR? Do we get, that's probably a different calculation, and probably the feds is too.
So that's I had to do a little research on that because I was unsure myself. Up until 2014, it was just private. After 2014, all properties were included in this.
So federal holdings too, like work they may be doing in the Gifford Pinchot or stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that was my understanding, if they harvest. It is, like I said, a little bit of a gamble every year. It's
Yeah.
hard to plan for.
Yeah.
But what prompts me is Gifford Pinchot was in and was telling us about their looking to increase harvest up in the area. So I'm trying to figure if that would have any impact or what kind of impact it might have.
Yeah, we asked her and I don't think she didn't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
That wasn't in her purview.
So that one is a little bit scary for our private holders because of the buffer increase and the amount of property they'll take out of production. That's okay.
Across the board, yes, sir. Especially for the maybe smaller districts that rely on this revenue, the cemeteries or smaller fire districts, it
Yeah.
could have some significant impacts.
So that number that you gave us, does that reflect the new buffer zone?
No, these were, so the monies that have been distributed year to date or prior year were not with those buffer zones. Most of this money was received during the first quarter
No, I
of the
mean, the
year.
valuation of the timber in our county.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would probably defer to Emily, but I would expect not because these were valued in 2025
Okay,
for 26.
okay. So we would lose a significant percentage of that.
We do have a lot of water. And then the last one that we called out individual here is going to be our motor vehicle license fees. Those are collected through the auditor's office. In 25, we had a budget of 875, collected a little over $1 million. And for 26 as well, we expect 875 in the budget and have collected 571 through Thursday last week. The last line here is we put as other revenues. So the top 10 are about 5/6 of our revenue. The last one is about 100 other lines rolled up into one, just to give a little bit of view on that. And that's it.
John, can you go back to the slide you got for local retail sales
Yeah,
and use tax? Keep going.
oh, Sales tax or property taxes?
No, that second slide you showed,
This guy?
no. No, it's got the,
I think we're looking at, for sales tax?
okay, so, yeah, it's just on this one, I think, let me look at this for a second.
Okay.
So the criminal justice tax is 0.1%,
Mm-hmm,
and the 911 is 0.1%.
mm-hmm.
So how does that equate that 1.67 in 2025 versus 3.32 million in 2025?
Great question. So the criminal justice sales tax is a shared tax with the cities. So of the monies collected, we retain 10%, and then the remaining 90% of that is split on population. And so our effective rate on that is about 0.5%.
Okay.
And is that criminal justice tax, is that the one that goes to 2/10 or 3/10, or is that is it stayed at 1/10?
That is a 1/10 only.
Okay.
There's a few different varieties of that one. So another way to look at that criminal justice one is about 1.67 of that as well went to the cities. That's all I have on that presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we can start running through agenda items for those that are here. I will point out that 10 a.m. I'm told I have a hard stop for an executive session because we have an attorney coming on online, so I'll try to be cognizant of that. Agenda item review, I see finance right on the top there. Did you do that on purpose?
Just stay in the seat here for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so for tomorrow, we have 5 items. The first one's gonna be item number 7, agreement with the Port of Kalama. This is for the $50,000 in path and trails. We were not able to contribute to the Eagle, but we were able to contribute to the trail maintenance system. And so this is the finalization of that agreement.
Oh, okay. I saw they completed that Eagle. It looks pretty,
Yeah, it looks
pretty cool.
Yeah. I saw them down there this weekend. They were getting the pad and stuff ready for the.
Oh, were they?
where they're gonna put it, yeah.
It's gonna be quite impressive sitting there.
Let's get down there and look at it. And then the next 3 items are going to be the rural development contracts. So the first one, item number 8, is an interlocal agreement with City of Woodland for a total of $576,000. This was their water main project. Number 9 is going to be an interlocal agreement with the City of Castle Rock for $365,500. This is for their sewer project. And then the number 10 is an interlocal agreement with Cowlitz Economic Development Council for $40,000. This was the partnership with Envision Kalama for their comprehensive plan. And then our last item is going to be item number 16. This is a little bit of a follow-up to the budget amendment where we closed the cafe fund. There was still a little bit of cleanup. A petty cash fund existed still, so we needed to close that before we could officially close the fund. So just some cleanup on that side. I believe that's all I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brad, I see the sheriff on here.
Good morning. I'm Sheriff Brad Thurman, and Savannah Clement from Public Works has joined me. And this is a reference of request for qualifications for helping with our animal control, the sheltering and fostering and adoption
Okay.
process. And see, Savannah has all the details.
I do. Good morning. So we have this packet going out to the public. We do have an open house. We talked to the board about that previously to help potential nonprofit agencies learn how to do a request for qualifications, go through the process. And then we gave another 2 weeks after that to do the submittal. I think it's July 30th. This is a very comprehensive packet. We include a sample agreements. We include, again, the open house, which will be beneficial. And then we're doing a Zoom option as well. So it's a lot. I think it's a lot for people to probably digest who aren't used to that process. So we're hoping to make it as user-friendly as we can. The other part I wanted to note in this is that we also do indicate the county is interested in providing a fee for service. It's not indicated what that fee would be or, anything of that nature, but that is included, that is something that the county plans to do when we engage in a contract. So just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. And it is included in the agenda items if you guys wanted a copy, or I can email it to you for review.
We think we're going to get decent response for this, who had some interest?
I hope so. I know that just word on the street is a couple agencies are interested. I know Sheriff Thurman and his crew have been working with agencies already, just informally, as needed. But so I think.
Yes, we're hopeful. Currently, we're working with like 3 nonprofits that it's worked out so far, but we want to formalize this and have something in writing, and also, do our part to facilitate their operations, because it's quite labor intensive. These folks are volunteers, spend their time and gas money coming up here, transporting the animals around, taking them to veterinary appointments and that sort of thing, and then ultimately they publicize them and adopt them out. So far, so good, but we want to formalize it and keep things moving, keep them interested.
Yeah.
And hopefully identify some other folks out there too that want to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Good.
This is actually for my seatmates more. I received correspondence this weekend from the Humane Society wanting to meet to discuss what our path moving forward is. So I'm not sure that that they've been, watching or paying attention to what we're doing, but I'm just going to respond that we're moving forward with what our initial plan was, that we're going to do this on our own. And if you guys are good with it, I'm just going to let them know that we have no interest in contracting with them at this time.
Works for me.
I do want to note, because it could come up, that I believe technically they could respond to this RFQ for services. So that would also be something that if they had interest in helping animals in our community and working with us, this.
Well, I think that's why I got the letter. Well, I got the email
Okay.
because of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So anyway, they could technically through this route.
I mean, it's related to animal control, but not on this item, just because I've been out the last couple of weeks. Were we able to answer questions and get the kennels ordered?
So the kennel is not ordered. We haven't met in 2 weeks as a group, and we did meet with the city of Longview. I'm preparing an email for everyone so that you guys have a better idea. But in sum, we met with the city of Longview. They have a public hearing on July 1st. And so kind of working with them, we thought we should probably wait until that public hearing on July 1st before we put that order in. That was some pretty good feedback we received from them and their team. However, and I haven't had the chance to talk to anybody about this, but we do have another kind of a plan B option for location. And so I will highlight that. I wanted to meet with the group first before we move forward on that as a potential option. But that's something that came out of our City of Longview meeting last Tuesday. It was a really good meeting. We were there for about an hour. There was probably like 12 people in the room when we were able to kind of go through some of the nuances of permitting and placement, and we got some really good information. But I would hate to put the county in a situation where we spend that kind of money on this building if we could only wait about 10 days to get a better direction. So we're ready to go, and we're ready to push the order button kind of once we have that good information in hand.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the things we were asking about the units, all that stuff's been settled.
Yes,
We're just kind of coordinating with City of Longview in the permit process.
correct. It was a hurry up and wait situation. So
All right,
thank you for translating that. Yes, you're right.
Vanna, what does it look like if they respond to the RFQ?
Oh.
Can we utilize them for specific services that they might qualify for, and we feel that we can negotiate a good rate?
For any nonprofit, do you mean, just generally speaking? So if a nonprofit comes in and they are considered a responsive submitter, then yes. So then we're not really, I guess, we're not saying certain entities can or can't, depending on what type of animal they serve. I think we're casting a broad net. So really, if they're considered responsive and they have all the qualifications submitted and insurance, et cetera, then we can move forward without any type of animal identified. Because yes, then we would go through the contract process and negotiate probably a fee for service, which I think dogs and cats will be pretty standard, right? This will be for a cat and this will be for a dog. I don't want to speak to necessarily other farm animals, horses, cows, things like that. That's something that may be dependent on a case-by-case basis. I'm not sure if the sheriff has anything to add about that, the type of animal.
There we go. Yeah, occasionally we do have the livestock cases that come up, and I guess the differentiation with how we deal with those, sometimes we get horses just show up. Some of them wander off warehouse, or other ones just wander off somewhere and an owner can't be found. But we've had quite a bit of success with like the local horse community, people stepping up and taking those. We did have one case, it was a case of neglect, which this was back in 2024 when we were dealing with this. There was a nonprofit up out of Mason County that we brought in to take them. They have a veterinarian on staff, take care of those animals, do an evaluation for potential criminal charges in that case, and nurse them back to health. In that case, it turned out that there's some litigation involved, and the animals did go back to the owner. But that's kind of the difference. Those are really not too many of them come up, and we deal with them on a case-by-case basis. But occasionally, those could run into the additional expense above and beyond what this looks like.
So Savannah, based on your response, then it's going to be up to us if the Humane Society does respond and submits their information as to whether we choose to use them and negotiate a rate, and we can a la carte use them as case needed. I mean, because originally they were all or nothing.
Mhm.
If they submit something to this, we can negotiate and say, well, we want to take cats to you at this rate, take it or leave it?
Yes. So that would be in the contract negotiation process, separate from this RFQ. If bidders are considered responsive, we would move forward in the contract. And then yes, that would be up to, I believe, the sheriff and the board to negotiate that rate. We would go from there. Mhm. I don't know if Ashley Clausen is online or purchasing extraordinaire, but she might be able to answer that a little bit better than I can. I don't hear her.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Emergency management.
Yeah, I talked with Director Scott Neves about this. I thought he was going to be on. Normally he's off today, but
He's online.
there he is.
I'm on, Sheriff. Commissioners, how are you?
Good morning.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, so what you have in front of you is a request for proposal to develop a after action report. One of the big holdups that we're having is trying to develop a price point for this. So we're trying to push this out, figure out what the cost would be, and then be able to identify funding streams to pay for the after action.
Don't this is just a question, because when I sit in those meetings, they always refer to L&I working on a report and the Fed's working on a report. Will their reports contain some of this stuff?
They will contain some of the information. The big part that we're looking for is from the point of dispatch to the first 24 or 48 hours. L&I is more focused on what caused the injuries to the workers. Chemical Safety Board is focused on the events leading up to this, what created the tank to deform and the product to leak. What we're specifically looking for is the actions of the local responders. How can that be improved? What did we do right? What did we do wrong? Lessons learned after that.
Okay, and I think what I heard you say is we want to put this out there because it'll kind of give us an idea of what the cost somebody's gonna want for putting this together.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll look for sources for it. So there'll be another approval process, I'm assuming, once we understand the costs.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Scott, pardon my ignorance in this, but why would we hire an outside company to come in and do something like this? Why wouldn't we just gather up the people who are involved, the leadership of those organizations, and have you guys come together, roundtable it, and discuss what you could have done differently or better? Is it that we need a separate set of eyes on what took place to evaluate what we did?
If you just take a look at the scope, you have two independent fire departments. You have the sheriff's office, Department of Emergency Management, 5 different hospitals, multiple EMS providers, Washington State Emergency Management, Department of Ecology. The scope is just really massive in this. And we have a lot of attention, not only nationally, but internationally. So we want to put together a really quality product to push that forward.
So basically it's an after action debrief, but it's the size of it is so massive. You just gotta have somebody else come in and try to put it all together.
Yes, sir.
And is it just a summary evaluation of what took place? And are they going to give us key things that we can implement and do differently based on their evaluation? Hey, you guys dropped the ball here. We could have done this better. And so we'll have an action plan coming out of this as we move forward?
Right. Part of this process is developing corrective action points for us to evaluate and implement on how to improve our response, especially to mass casualty, hazardous materials. Just understand that these events are so rare across the state of Washington, that not only nationally, there's a lot of moving pieces we need to take a look at and see how all the systems work together.
Well, this aside, I've talked with several people that were involved, and I just want to say, you guys, I think everybody did a phenomenal job in the response time and what they did and in what they were dealing with. I really kudos to everybody, all of our responders. I think they did a phenomenal job in the time frame and how they responded.
Yep. Thank you.
Now, I would second that, all those comments, that I think everything turned out under the circumstances at least as good or better than could have been expected. I guess I want to ask the question of, I would think that we would have some experience with catastrophic failures after Mount St. Helens and the loss of life there, that we have some exposure to mass casualties.
Well, the other part you need to understand is most of those people that were involved in those incidences are long gone from the landscape. They're not in response positions anymore. So as generationally, we start losing the folks that have those really specialized skill sets that they learned through on-the-job training.
Well, that's a forever thing, but there was no report or no analysis or.
Yeah, there's multiple reports, but
Mount St. Helens?
yeah, Mount St. Helens was totally different than this response. Mount St. Helens was a long time period. You had ashfall, you had lahars coming down the water. This is a very compact hazardous material release where you had mass casualties almost instantaneous.
Okay.
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 Thank you, Scott. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
Corrections.
Good morning, Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. Tomorrow on consent agenda, There is an amendment to the contract with the Washington State Healthcare Authority. This offsets some of the cost of our MOUD MAT program at the jail. The yearly cost or the yearly amount we'll be getting is $437,000. That $2 million number is the total for the length of the contract, which was March 1 of 22 to June 30 of 27.
Oh, okay. So 2.2 is for the entire term of the contract, and this amendment is for what we're getting next year.
Right.
Gotcha.
Until June
Is,
30 of 27.
is it an increase?
I
do you
think it
know?
is a little bit, it varies depending on how many counties put in for it. So the amount varies year to year. But I believe this is a larger amount than we got last year, or pretty close.
Okay. And-
Marin, oh, go ahead.
No,
I did have a question on about your transfers in on your budget part. Currently, we're using the remainder of the mental health tax to supplement your insurance cost. When that's done, have you given any thought to how we're gonna make up that million? Have you looked at your budget and I know
No, I mean, the board's been aware that that funding funds required services in the jail. That's the way previous boards chose to allocate that money. So when that sales tax goes away, when the board decided to remove that sales tax, the understanding has always been that those are going to have to be absorbed by the general fund. So I've not been instructed to look at how
anything else.
internally we would offset that. our
Have
budget.
we been, I don't know, you may or may not know this, but have you heard at any of your conferences or anything or from the current insurance company, what the plan is for our premiums next year?
No, but we have a cap on our yearly
Good.
increase. I don't remember what it is. I'd have to look, but there is a cap on the increase for the life of the contract.
Okay,
I'll look that up and get it to you.
okay, thank you.
What was the original term of this contract? From when to when?
Of the contract for tomorrow. So what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it's extended, but when did it start?
March 1 of 22.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
I was going to take somebody else. I'm I couldn't resist, sorry.
Good morning, Kim Boca, Director of the Event Center and Tourism. I have two things on the agenda, on the consent agenda tomorrow. The first thing is an agreement with Fine Design Group to design a new public-facing tourism website. As you know, we've been working on in the last, I think, 14 or 15 months, working on a new tourism initiative for Cowlitz County. This website will be the culmination of a lot of that work in designing a new public-facing website. The current visitmountsthelens.com will remain active. The plan is to minimize that site to really be very specific to Mount St. Helens. However, it's got a lot of SEO. It's been in existence for a lot of years. The new website, the goal is to once the contract is signed, they're going to create a splash page so that we can start moving forward with the new tourism initiative, getting people to go to that site. It will redirect until the site is built out. We expect a transition of 12 to 36 months of transitioning to the new site. They'll still kind of cross-pollinate for a while. And then at the end of it, we'll have a new Cowlitz County tourism website. The Visit Mount St. Helens, again, will be still there, but just very focused on activities in the direct vicinity of Mount St. Helens.
When the new website is up and going, Kim, will there be Do you know, will there be a link from the Mount St. Helens website to the new website so that they can access that from
Yes.
there? Okay.
Yes, and the same thing on social media. We have a current Mount St. Helens and Cowlitz County Tourism social media presence with the new branding. Everything will kind of, again, will point to each other. And the current Mount St. Helens site will still just have very specific Mount St. Helens information and kind of be like almost a fan page to the Cowlitz County Tourism website. Any questions on that before I move on?
I think the Fine Group did a good job in their presentation and what they're doing.
Thank
I liked
you.
it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for the website. I'm really, we've had this website for a long time. There's been a lot, it reads a lot like a business directory. It's not very inviting. I shouldn't say it's not very, it is inviting, but it could be better. And so I'm really excited for this next chapter. The second item that I have on the agenda is an amendment to our professional services agreement with Gibbs and Olson. This is regarding the RV park. We hired, or we contracted with Gibbs and Olson a while back to help us with schematic design services, conceptual layouts, evaluation of utilities. This is amendment number 2 after meeting with the city of Longview, similar to what Savannah did with the animal services. Meeting with them was very interesting and really helped us in how we move forward. The piece of property that we are proposing to put the RV park has currently been used for RVs during the fair, but there's a lot of parameters around that site. So this next amendment is going to prepare a boundary line adjustment. We have a few, the event center has, I can't remember how many parcels, 6 or 7 parcels. This is not encompassing the entire event center. It's just I think there's 2 or 3 properties over where the RV park is. So they're going to help us with that boundary line adjustment, the binding site plan, 30% design documents, preliminary stormwater technical report, a SEPA checklist, and a zoning text amendment. And we're coordinating that along with the animal control. They're going to be doing the whole event center text amendment adjustment. And that is, and a traffic impact memorandum. So the original agreement with Gibbs and Olson was $28,500. We did a small amendment of $12,500 last year, and this new amendment adds $87,200 in engineering services to this contract, if approved.
Kim, the money that was there money allocated and set aside specifically for the RV park from rural public funds, or where did the money come from for that?
Yes, so we have money that was received from the Rural Economic Development Funds grant. We got $900,000. To date, we've expended about we've expended about 60. We have about 840, so this will go towards that. When Gibbs and Olson came back with the conceptual plans, that came with a conceptual price tag of conceptually $6 million. So that just nearly $1 million that we had wasn't going to cover that. So what we're doing is building this foundation. We're using that money. We'll be putting in water lines and doing some grade work. And then, of course, getting this initial engineering stuff out of the way with that money. And then I'll be looking at RCO grants, probably more rural economic development grants to move forward to get this built out.
So that you're just asking to use money out of.
Correct. Yes, this is
Okay.
not new money. This is money that's already set aside for the RV park.
When was that awarded for the RV park?
It was a 3-year, and I believe it started in 21, maybe 21, 22,
I
23.
think it was the year before I came on. I think that's correct.
Okay.
So since 21, we've expended 60,000 of 900,000.
We've been doing a lot of work in the back end to try to get to this point with Gibbs and Olson and back and forth. It's been very time consuming. Yeah. When I first applied for the grant, there really had not been any legwork done. I shouldn't say really not. There was no legwork. It was a dream to have an improved RV park with really no idea of how much it was going to cost. In all honesty, it was a phone call and I had about 2 days and I threw the grant together asking for about $300,000 just to explore. And the agreement was then to give me 300,000 to continue that. And so as we hired Gibbs and Olson and started doing more educated research, we realized that it was a much bigger project than initially anticipated. You can't just with putting in an RV park, even though it's only for event center use, it's not open to the public, you still have to have those standards. And that I was not aware of that, so.
This has nothing to do with what you're talking about, but it just triggered a thought in my mind with regards to where the funding came from. And this was one of the things that we just voted on in the last month. Some of those requests we put on there is this a shovel ready job and ready to go? And that to me is a decision that's a determining factor with where we're going to allocate those funds. And so I think that moving forward, I think we need to be more clear on how fast that money, because that money's been sitting there since 2001.
Yep.
And it could have been used
2021,
for
not
other
2000.
projects and other things, you know.
Not 2001, sorry, just to.
Oh, 2021, yes,
I
yes.
was like, whoa.
Yeah, no, that's a long time. But
It's already
you know,
long enough, yes.
but I just think that that's on us to make sure that as we make those decisions moving forward, that we're clear on, are they shovel ready and ready to be used? Because when you said that, I thought, man, that money could have been allocated for something else and we could have given you the money now for where you are type of a.
Correct.
scenario.
And I think with your new process of having it as a reimbursement is it's a great idea. That's the other grants that we apply for, there it is on a reimbursement basis, so.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's the deadline on this to get something done rather than ongoing forever and a day?
I'm hoping to spend the money by the end of the year, like have that completely, this project done. That's what I'm really working on. We have to wait for this text amendment for the city of Longview. As Savannah said, that'll go before city council in July. And then once approved, that's one of the steps of all of this, but we're still working in the back end to get these, the grading and the water lines in.
Well, okay, so I heard you say you want to spend the money by the end of the year, but what I want to know is, are you going to have engineering results by the end of the year?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I would have thought I would have had this done a couple of years ago, but as we've found more and more information and kind of moving forward and how we have to do things, and it's been an interesting learning curve.
Okay.
Okay,
Any other questions?
thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Jessica, you got a couple, I got a hard stop at 10. Are they ready in there? So we can take that. If you're okay with that, we can. Okay, okay. So if they're ready, we'll head into executive session for potential litigation. They give us any kind of time frame?
Shelley Pierce, Risk Management, Potential Litigation Executive Session for a minimum of 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay. Okay.
Take notes with.
Yeah.
Might be in for a while.
I was more serious with the land use, like, we're, you make me pay you. Yeah. Less the calls, yeah, you know, you can put out. Just. You would think another time. Well. You have in the world, and that's like, hey, you get pushed back from them, do it, the Saturday house, it's close by. Like, oh, there's only 4 hours, so that's still deep, it's not. Those two don't go. It's not, so. So we have to, because we talked about that, we have to take that back from the money. It is, but it's still just, okay, so those. I'm worried about the next floor. Okay, so fire somewhere. Probably lost. That's further away. It is. Okay. I'm not sure if we did. Sure. Just keeps track of it. Yeah. You know what? It's crazy. Like when you just get everything. We have to get our attorneys there. Yeah. She's like. They were. They get pushback on that. City council from the side. All the neighbors. Okay. But stuff. I guess we could still some. Yeah. You talked about our back parking lot in town. If you have to, or you didn't the shop before, and still work the city council out like the last week. So there. No, we checked. We have to tie in to the wash track area. Yeah, that's just something to check. Great access does. Yeah. Many good access. I would show it. Yeah, that's right. We lost it. Right where we think you'll trail go further in. Swim. Oh, the only caveat that part of it is still like creational because of the river, but not the whole parking lot. We just have to be careful. We only have gravel areas, but it's not. The gravel. I don't know. We still have to pay, but that's where it's the gravel area. So we might go. I should. No matter what it's. Weird. Not person. Yeah. So far, more road, it's here already. That's the sweet spot. And then there's yes, they are. Yeah. We got the dog is fine. But that's not as you don't have to buy it, though. That's how you know, it's serious. Like I gave you some this is a simple app. Don't share. Simple. Yeah. Because I did that for sewer. Yeah. Storage. Maybe house. Yes. Yeah. That's fine. That's peace. Yeah, right. It's oh, and here you go, though. Yeah, that's I'm gonna see my share. And one all. Yeah, they said it takes 2 years to get this permit. There. Go in around us the street on those roads. But our right of way goes out so far, so. It's all what that's designated, but class one. It's gonna be really. Hey, Brian, do that for you, John. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's not a house. It's not a house. It's like a big sun. I was on the update, so I'm really not. It's like stuff that you have in this system. Cool. There's a float. Yeah. So this is another town, very fascinating. I know they went over to I don't think they probably had it. Oh, I can't. It's not listed. Oh, we're on it. Yeah, we're on this. Well, that's good. No, that's new film. Susan to so. And I said I was every time. So here's two bed bath hats, basically go out and all. So I have that. Of course. No, I have that. That was very nice. One of my muscle has to put together. There are 4. So then I looked. Like so. Worry about that. And long project. Oh, you can probably should burn later. Yeah. It's pretty close to it. Yeah, that's. I think I still make road. It is Gilmore. Which is off my spec very hard. That's true. So now is that still right? That baby. Yeah, there's lots of things out there. I'll say you're in Spur about chat. Right, Spur, for those people. Not road. Okay, so where goes to? Us the one. Right. Yeah, there's flags. Right. I think I'm supposed to be the only way. For paramedic. But we didn't do it. Who's kind of, and then we just on the top. We have another thing about that. No, but she's gonna go. She's on. She'll be able to. Well, they're gonna have. Okay, so Ryan, I with Ryan. So he kind of just really does like people asking, no, he likes to. He's possibly what and he does, yeah, so that's about Ryan's ones. I love that. Like, oh my God, I go for it. No, they were everywhere. Friday. Oh, or something. It's. Why is that? Oh, it's not bad. Okay, they will work good. Joey. Oh. Like around. No, I have to do all this stuff. Sound a little close to my track. Actually, it's two. It's a deep. So for some reason, it won't do it. Frequency speed. Simply run around. Other words, so is Johnson. Elevator finish. So, anyway. Actually, Sarah people. cities. I mean, what the states, what the state. Several states. There are four states. It's not too, it's not. Means here now, and there's a cap thing, we should order, which we shall we send the ship it every year. Which we are, or we'll just ship it to it every year. Sure. People serve. We pay them. How many? Actually. More, it was for. Just some. Yeah, they. Very close. In the person. Also, national fire patents. They have something. Student. University. Student together. Just trying to, I do a little bit of battle and big one scouted out. You flew over, scouted out. That's the training thing, and came back and lost troops. The battle and break one just to study. So that is studying the battles. Plus the usual. So that's probably a long night that they can use. So yeah, sure. Cowlitz has the ironic thing on this, and making people over this and also they were back. So I'll spend actually interesting to see in the scene on the city right there. There's a big we're checking out there's a newspaper there. They headline on the name was their south of that should go figure. Big part thing. Different perspectives. How things are. The now below. Last Monday night, I had this here, four of it, this is such a job. This was a- yeah, she's house before. Third time. But she's a- so, we're to play music. She's also a school of us. What's that? Really came up and did this, so she's been. Usually. She turned that thing, she took the Vegas, she. Just down. No problem. So nice. So I flew down. I was gonna go originally with the Virgin. So. I get home, I was in Friday, get home at 4. So I was, council meeting, so that's the biggest expenses that FAA. So, yeah, so I'm at the Friday night, it's 4 o'clock. So it's scrambled together, why not stop? So I did, I thought I had an hour and 45 minutes. That's why I jumped an hour, I was heading down, I made a line that thing, Southwest. So they pulled over and scrambled, so there's no option. Then Southwest pops up, so they're going to 5:30 this morning. Oh. 2:45. Actually, was able to find out that it was on Southwest Frontiers. Yeah, about so far, each policy space. Actually, that. But it was interesting, obviously participation.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 15 minutes until 10:45 a.m.
Well. And that was the question. They're actually, there's like, excuse me, these people. Yeah. Well, actually, this is the best view of the, I said, hey, the bigger you're trying that Vegas. Oh, this is Mexico. Interesting. Right. This person thought so. But there one time, of course, here, didn't it fold it for the house? Pretty neat. Stations. Well, yes. This yeah, maybe, you know, what's has what's American? It was fairly his kid was sending this slow. I'm sure they don't. He's some
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 10:50 a.m. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 10:55 a.m. The board is extending the executive session for a period of 10 minutes until 11:06 a.m.
Good morning, Jessica Warren, Human Resources. So this one is definitely a long time coming. On the agenda tomorrow is the 4-year collective bargaining agreement for the Teamsters Local 58 Corrections Sergeants. This is an agreement that begins January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028. Covering 6 corrections employees. So we've been in negotiations, mediation, close to arbitration with this group for about 18 months now. As you know, we've had several executive sessions discussing the complexities of this contract based off of the significant compensation gap compared with comparable counties due to their interest arbitration eligibility. We were trailing by double digits, double digits in the 20% range for year 1. So that made it increasingly difficult to come to an agreement based off of those high numbers. But we, with help and from our labor attorney, we've come to an agreement for 2025 at 22%, 2026, 5.5%, 2027 and 2028, a increase of equivalent to the CPI West Class BC with a floor of 3% and a ceiling of 5%. Overall, that's about an increase of 150,000 for 2025, 50,000 for 2026, and 25 to 45,000 for 2027 and 2028. Included in that is an increase to health insurance contributions for 2025 to $17,849 a month per employee, and then 2026 $17,851.49 per month per employee. By comparison, the average county contribution for an employee is $1,700, and then also by comparison, corrections officers is $2,500. So just bringing up, they have Teamsters insurance, so they have always been a little bit behind the rest of the county. The other financial change in the contract is language maintaining a minimum of 5% more than the top step of corrections officers, which is something that you see in a lot of contracts where they're separate. And then some new floating holiday language. They don't have holidays like the rest of the county. So the rest of the county has 104 hours. They just have floating holidays, and that's being increased from 44 hours to 48 hours per sergeant.
Jessica, I'm sorry, did you say that that the new contract states that they have to have a 5%?
It's maintaining
Increase?
5% because they're on a different cycle than the corrections officers. What we ran into when we settled the corrections officers contract 2 years ago, the corrections officers, who report to the sergeants, were significantly higher based off of their contract that they settled, and the corrections sergeants, the gap was much smaller. So this just maintains that gap. This puts them well above that gap. We shouldn't run into that again in the cycle, but it's basically protective language for them. So the corrections officers don't make more than them.
Do we have any situations in other bargaining units where that's the case, where there has to be a differential?
So in the sheriff deputies and sergeants contract, they're all in one contract, and they have a percentage built into that contract, but they're all in one contract. I think the sheriff sergeants currently make 15% more than the, whatever step it is for the.
So
deputy.
we don't have any other ones where there's a difference in the scheduling, like,
No.
because I was gonna ask, how do we implement that? Does that automatically mean that the sergeants get a raise when the officers do?
So if there were a significantly higher contract settled for the corrections officers, it would just be like an automatic thing. When we do a new contract for the sheriff deputies and sergeants, that impacts under sheriff, and then the chief criminals and stuff. So it's just kind of an automatic thing because they also are based off of a percentage. However, based off of these numbers, I don't see us running into that. This is just kind of protecting them in the future is, and they started off wanting a much higher percentage. So 5% is reasonable.
And this is a 4-year contract?
It's a 4-year contract, but the contract is starting in 2025. So
Got it.
we're already a year and a half through the contract.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
did you have other stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
the sheriff's here with some personnel requests.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff Brad Thurman, once again. I sent you gentlemen a letter on Friday. I don't know if you'd had a chance to review that, going over some of our.
I looked at it briefly this morning, yeah.
Okay, and I don't know if the other gentleman had,
I
but
did.
just in summary, we currently have 5 openings that we're looking at currently. And just in context, I know a few months ago you approved hiring 3 deputies, which we have done. They started last week and will be entering the training academy here in July.
Is
And
that part of the 5 you're talking about?
no, these are the
Okay.
prior 3, but
Okay,
they're going to be going to the academy. And so that's entry-level deputies. It takes about a year to get them hired up. So if everything goes well, we'd have them out on the street, probably be looking next, probably March for those 3. We still have 3 openings, 2 currently, and we have a deputy who's making plans to go up to Fairbanks, Alaska and work for the police department there. So we anticipate him leaving here in July. So we'd have 3 deputy openings and also 2 civilian staff. And in terms of the 3 openings we anticipated for deputies, we do have some interest from some trained officers from other jurisdictions we're looking at now. And as you know, if we don't have to send them through the academy, that really is a fast track process for us, probably 3 months to get them on board and trained up and out and helping us. So I'd like an authorization to hire these 3 openings that we anticipate that is in the current budget for that, and give us the leeway to hopefully pursue over the next couple of months, get some experienced officers on board. The alternative would be to get entry-level folks, and again, that'd put us on the cycle to about a year out before they would actually be on their own and serving the public. So that's the first part. It would be the 3 officers. The second part is the 2 civilian folks we have. We have an administrative assistant position that's been open since January, and this is a promotional position within our office. We have the support staff. We have 5 of those folks. And then we also eligible would be our records folks as well, would be eligible to put in for this promotional administrative position. So we'd be asking to fill that. That would, of course, create an opening down the line for a support staff person. We also, one of our records folks left. They took a job with Ridgefield. This person lived down in the Vancouver area, so it's more convenient, and I guess substantially more pay as well. So we lost 1 person there, which would like to fill the records position, and that's their budget's augmented by the cities as well, doing the 24/7 coverage that we do for them. So that would be the request today, at least get the green light to move ahead on trying to fill these 3 deputy positions and the 2 support staff positions. And I will just add for context, budgetarily, I know we approved going for the 1/10 of 1% sales tax. There's a process with the Criminal Justice Training Commission. And Under Sheriff Brightbill's worked diligently on that here for about the past 3 weeks. And we're getting, I think, really close here in the next week or 2 to have the package ready to submit to the Criminal Justice Training Commission. So, and once they have it, they have 45 days to say yes or no, or ask us to make corrections to that. But we're really fast tracking that and kind of ahead. I think originally we wanted to have that by September 1, but it looks like we'll be able to get that in here by, like I said, in the next couple of weeks and move that process forward as well. So
With the support staff, Sheriff, you said it was promotional.
yes.
So within that specific department or within the entire, are we talking like records promotion, or is it within your entire department that somebody can move into? And that's obviously going to create a domino effect where we're going to have other
Right.
positions to fill.
Yeah, that's a position that's open to our front office support folks and also the records people as well can all put in there in the common bargaining unit. So it's eligible for everyone in that unit to put in for that one. That's the only position they really have that's promotional for them or an opportunity to advance through civil service.
So when did we approve the 1/10? I haven't seen it come through on agenda yet.
Well, yeah, I think you approved putting in for it.
It hasn't come up for vote yet, no.
Okay,
We
I
haven't
was gonna
approved.
say, I don't recall seeing it. Okay,
It's the preliminary paperwork, right, to get it? Because we had to, there was
You have,
qualifications we had to meet.
you have to be, I guess, blessed by the Criminal Justice Training Commission to implement that tax. So I think that was the direction was to move forward with that application process to get the approval, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Is trying to get that approved, so.
John giving you that direction?
So well,
Well, I'm just curious. We're moving forward with stuff on the sheriff's office to put in a package on that 1/10 tax, and I haven't seen any approval on it. And who's given direction that it's,
That's correct. The 1/10 has not been approved yet. Earlier this year, we got approval to move forward on getting the documents together to get approval from the CTJC.
okay?
Once that's done, then a resolution will be brought before the board for the approval of a resolution for that. But that has not taken place yet.
When do you expect that?
I don't know if you're listening. I think we're about ready in the next couple of weeks to submit our package to the Criminal Justice Training Commission. They have 45 days to review it and get
Mhm.
back to us. So I think we're ahead of the schedule anyway on getting that in.
So once we receive approval from the CTJC, we'll put a resolution together and bring that in front of the board. Our drop dead to hit January 1, if that's our goal, would be the October 13th meeting. We'd much like to have that in front of the board ahead of that. So maybe late September if approval comes through at that time.
Seems like a lot of cart before the horse. You know, I'm not in favor of this. You get that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
so run me by, you have 3 deputies that are at the academy or just back from the academy?
No, we have 3 that we hired last week. They'll be starting July 7th at the academy for 5 months.
Okay.
And then they'll have the 3 or 4 more months of training. So those ones are in the pipeline. We have 2 more openings now and a 3rd one anticipated next month. Those are the ones we're talking about, those 3.
And this isn't to increase the number of deputies, it's just
No.
keep status quo currently because of retirements
The
and.
current status of
Yeah.
personnel, yes. No additional.
So what we're looking at is the 2 plus 1,
For deputies, correct. Yeah.
right?
Does that include your position? Like,
Well,
coming out for your
and she's
position?
bringing up, no, that does not include my position when I'm leaving at the end of the year. So that'd be another opening that would be under discussion at that point.
That would be created by you leaving.
Yeah, the domino
Correct,
effect.
correct.
Yeah.
So what does the lack of those positions do to you? What do they, what do they fill? Are they road people? Or are they?
Well, I guess a combination initially, based on our staffing right now, with the openings, people in training, the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, which you're familiar with, we have people taking time off for that. And we're very short staffed. We have minimums of 4 deputies on a shift. And that's about 20 hours a day. We drop to 2 for kind of the middle of the night. But to maintain that 4 deputy status, we're scrambling, we're paying overtime. In fact, we have our crime reduction team, a sergeant and 2 detectives. We've moved the 2 detectives back to patrol here on the short-term basis to just to fill patrol shifts and not do it on overtime. So we do have 2 deputies that have been out of the academy since I believe back in April or May. They're going through field training. We expect them to be ready to go solo in August. So we do have some people, 2 people in the pipeline to be out on their own in August. And that's kind of what we're shooting for, to get them up and running and then be able to move our 2 detectives back to our crime reduction team as well. So So it's, yeah, it's kind of it's a shell game, moving people between overtime and shifting positions, but that's how we're trying to fill the gap. And like I said, this is not additional people, and we just run up against, even on paper, we have 47 commissioned people, but with the various things, openings, injuries, paid family medical leave, it's a scramble just to keep 4 people out there a lot of the time.
Okay.
I'm okay.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'm good.
So the request was to fill the 3 deputy vacancies, 1 support staff position, 1 records position. And then did you want to discuss the finance manager and DM?
Yes, at the end of the year, we anticipate Katrina Harris, the finance budget manager for the office, sheriff's office, is going to be leaving. And also Larry Embry, who's the public outreach coordinator for the Department of Emergency Management, anticipates leaving as well. And would request just some early hiring on those positions. I'm requesting 3 months each just to get some overlap in those positions, to get those people up to speed, particularly the finance budget position. She's heavily involved in many aspects of the budget for the sheriff's office, grants, that sort of thing. And she, by extension, she's helped many other county departments as well, believe me, in budget process, because she has some unique skills. But that's a big position for us. We'd like to get some overlap with her. As far as the DEM position, kind of the same scenario, would get somebody hired to overlap and cross-train. And well, the finance positions, the sheriff's office budget, DEM is separate. And as you know, they get funding through the cities and various grants, and they have substantial financing available to cover that internally.
Sure. If we haven't had a chance to talk about this, I'll bring it up now. I was thinking about this over the weekend. And Sean, I'm glad you're here. As far as the finance position goes, have we thought about, would it make more sense to bring somebody on and this is a decision we would need to make, but to bring somebody on in the finance department's a position in there and then have them help the sheriff's department, as opposed to just having that position in the sheriff's department specifically for the sheriff's department? Sean, do you understand what I'm saying? Have a person in your department that helps with the rest of the county also, not just the sheriff's department?
So your question is B, if we were to re-centralize that position into OFM that focuses on the sheriff's office versus specifically at the sheriff's office. Like, we could accomplish that if the sheriff would be willing on that.
Would there be a benefit to it though? I mean, I don't want to do something just to do it.
I believe there would be a benefit. It gives the resources countywide as we need, focus on areas that need focusing on during the year. But I don't know what I don't know, and their role in the sheriff's office. And so that'd be something we need to understand and talk about probably.
Well, that's what happened previously before we brought a finance budget manager in. The office over here had better staffing and did do that, had oversight of the budget and helped out with that. Part of that equation was the undersheriff traditionally oversaw the budget, but you take a cop and try to make them, a budget person. They were lacking and really relied heavily on the Office of Finance to do a lot of the things we do in terms of the financing, grant reporting, and that sort of thing. So that is a model I think that could potentially work. Certainly looking at the corrections and all the criminal justice budgets, if we had a specialist for that, that could be an alternative that would work.
Yeah, I was just thinking we might be able to better apply those funds if we had somebody in OFM as opposed to just, because eventually I would imagine that it's just you in there right now. That's
Me and Tanya.
Yeah, you and Tanya. And if we had somebody specialized in that portion of the county's department as opposed to just having them in the sheriff, I think it might be more beneficial for us. And we get better utilization of the funding for that position.
And I wouldn't mind seeing you have somebody support that would be potentially available in your absence.
You mean when I win the Powerball?
That's the plan A?
That's the plan A, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I just think it's worth having a conversation is with Katrina leaving. It might be something that we want to look at.
I don't have any problem filling that position early, no matter where we end up
Yeah.
having it sit. I do have questions on the other one because I don't know. There's so much, when DEM was created back in the 80s, we didn't have all the information out there that it's out there now, and I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't know the benefit of having an extra person there. Because most of the stuff I see when it's weather event, you can get off of NOAA or we pull it off of stuff that's all available. So I'm a little more hesitant on that one, Brad, just because I don't understand. I guess I don't have I don't feel like technology is advanced, but we haven't advanced that department to kind of deal with that. I don't know that there's a need there. And I could be wrong. I question it.
Well, as far as outreach, they do a lot of community festivals, fairs, that sort of thing, National Night Out and various things. And part of the outreach is to some of the minorities in the community, Spanish speakers, the Chukis community, Eastern European folks, getting them integrated into that. And a big part of one of the things they push is the cell phone, registering your cell phone to get emergency alerts. The emergency alerts are based on kind of landlines or if you're registered to a certain geographic area. So that's been a big push too, to get people plugged into the emergency alert system when those events come up, and just outreach to some of the, I guess, the marginalized or fringe folks in the community that may not otherwise be plugged in to things that you and I see on a regular basis.
And I'm sure Scott's in favor of replacing Larry.
Yes, yeah. And there's three people, three FTEs in that department, so it's pretty bare bones. They have a kind of a pretty good group of volunteers that come in and help them out. But for the basic staff, there's just three there.
What percentage of that FTE is supported by the municipalities, do you know?
You know, I couldn't tell you exactly the breakdown on that. I do know we get some federal money through FEMA that's scaled back, but I think we're on track to get about 28,000 for the next several years to help augment that position. This percentage, maybe a third of that. But as far as the breakdowns in the cities, I'm not sure if it's specifically by FTE, if we could trace that back. I'm sure Scott Neves could probably get us some information on how that breaks down. And that's something I guess we don't have to decide today on both of those, at least have the discussion open on that replacement.
I was going to add in, the county pays about 60% of the DEM total cost.
Total cost?
Mm-hmm.
And the rest comes from the cities and some grants. Is that
correct?
the
Yes.
combination?
Well, me personally, I'd hesitate on that one right at the moment. And that just maybe me to getting better understanding of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair question to get more understanding on what all is going on in that position these days.
Okay, when we have some time
Okay.
to do that over the next several months, maybe come back and do a presentation on that, so. Okay.
Okay,
All right. Well, thank you.
thanks.
That's all I have today.
That's all you have?
Thank you.
Huh?
Public Works still has to do.
Okay. I saw you on the agenda, but I didn't see you on the list, so
I know. I don't know. We didn't make the list. I was gonna go and then I thought, well.
well, they look pretty.
Ye-
Anyway, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So Savannah Clement Public Works, and so we have a couple items on the agenda for tomorrow, which is a call for bids for the South Toutle Road head wall repair project. I do have pictures I'll hand out, but we are just going out for bids for this project, and it's essentially I'm going to get in trouble by our engineers. Essentially, it's kind of a little overpass culvert area where we've got some failing retaining walls coming out. And like I said, I brought some pictures to show you guys. So that one will be going out. It looks like it's scheduled to start July 27th at 1:30 for that, turning in those bids. And I'll move on to the next one. And we do have a call for hearing, which is for that utility installations under right-of-way, which we've discussed previously. And then we have a couple bid awards, and these are what I would consider some of our standard yearly bids for our road inventory for the rock material and then asphalt materials. And so it looks like for I'm sorry, I'm on number 14 and 15. I skipped. For Lakeside, it looks like we only received one bid, which was Lakeside. And these are per ton bids. And again, it's just to keep our asphalt material in place for when we need it. And I will move on. Looks like the JL Stordahl Sons, we did receive 3 bids on this one. JL Stordahl was the low bid, and that is for mainly rock materials for our chip seal program. Again, these are bids we do annually. And those were my items. So you have questions?
I've asked Sean, but he wasn't sure. There's a sign up on Pleasant Hill, says we're closing at 6:22 to 8:04. My question was, are we in the process of replacing that single lane bridge? Do we know, or is there something else we're doing?
That would be, if I had to guess, well, no for the bridge. That's not moving forward yet.
Okay.
But it's either going to be chip seal or overlay, and I can't recall if it's on the overlay schedule, but it's an overlay product or our chip seal.
That we're
program.
working on. Okay.
Mhm.
I just,
Separate topic, Savannah, since we got you. Do you know where we're at with the drawing up of the paperwork for the no parking deal up the Clamor River?
Was that just the no parking ordinance? It wasn't a vacate, right?
Right, just no park.
I'm not sure, but I can find out when I go back to the office.
Okay.
Susan's out this week, but I will double check with our other engineers.
Thank you.
Okay,
okay, thanks.
thank you.
I had one last thing, and it's an easy thing. Since I'm on the ballot, there's no law that says I can't be on canvassing board, but it doesn't make sense. I don't see why I would be on it when I have stuff in there. So I need to appoint one of you. And does anybody have a desire to sit on canvassing? It'd be for the primary election in August, and then and then the general in November.
That's all the training stuff that just came through.
I was wondering what that was for. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that, but
Yeah.
I will if we need to.
Sounds like we're gonna flip a coin.
Yeah, we can flip a coin if you want. I'm good with that.
I just need to, there's a form I have to fill out and sign one of you, and
Okay, well,
you just,
how much time's involved?
usually it's pretty quick. Most of the time, I'd say hour max. There was one election where it was so close that we had to recount a lot of things. It went a little bit longer than that, but that's unusual.
So just gotta sit in and.
Yeah, sit in. The staff does a really good job of trying to correct any of the things that they didn't get corrected before. So you'll look on like stuff that comes in after the date, or you'll check some signatures or stuff, or wrong people signing. I've seen them with previous year's ballots.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
So staff does a real good job and have it pretty good organized, and it just there's 3 of you that sit there, and it has to have 2 out of 3 agree or disagree.
Whatever the finding,
Mhm.
whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah, put my name on it.
Okay.
I'll save Steve from it.
What's up, Steve?
Save the other Steve from it.
Okay. With that, I didn't have anything. We're all good?
Yeah.
Okay, we will adjourn.